Welcome once again to Boxing During Dinner, and of course we're here at RANDAZZO'S once again, David.
Episode 49. We're going to hit 50 soon.
Check this out, man. This is spaghetti carbonara.
And these little chunks you see in there, like this guy right there.
Prosciutto.
That is, no.
No?
This is Italian bacon. There's a name for it, but I just know it's Italian bacon.
We'll let...
Yeah, what he said.
That?
Uh-huh.
Well, we'll let Mark explain it later on.
He's our resident Italian.
Our boy Jason.
Pancetta, there you go. Oh, look at that. Magic. That's
well, we were
music.
planning last week when we were eating all that Sicilian vaca frita to talk to you today and kind of set up that Amir Khan Lamont Peterson fight, you know, and now it's proven, David.
Yeah.
That the reason that Amir Khan lost to Lamont Peterson and is still a top 5 pound fighter is because of steroids. No, I'm kidding, but Lamont Peterson tested positive for testosterone. He's not gonna fight. The fight's off. Adrian Broner is the loser in all this because he was gonna fight on the undercard, and I love seeing Adrian Broner fight. You won't be able to see him. But David, what do you make of the whole Lamont Peterson situation?
Before I jump into that, I'm going to say the winner in this is Adrian Broner because he was supposed to fight a guy named Gary Sykes, who no one's ever heard of. Now, in a fight that's probably going to end up in July, he's going to end up fighting most likely Vicente Escobedo, who's a far more legit opponent for him at 130 pounds.
But still, at this point of Escobedo's career, I don't put him in anywhere near the same class
Definitely
as Adrian Broner.
Adrian Broner is in his own class at 130 pounds. But back to your main point. Now, Lamont Peterson did test positive for testosterone, as do most athletes, because there's testosterone in their bodies. But what he actually tested for was synthetic testosterone. And an interesting thing about this is the standard...
Which is caused by spaghetti carbonara.
Which is caused by spaghetti carbonara. The thing about this is that had they stuck by the standard testing procedures, which are just urine tests by the Nevada State Athletic Commission, this would have never turned up. Why? Because Lamont Peterson's testosterone ratios were still under 4-1, which is what they legally determined is feasible and let you fight. His came in at 3.77. An alternate test is what revealed that what he was taking were testosterone pellets, which are actually a surgical procedure, from what I've read, that are inserted in under the arm and actually kind of give a steady release of testosterone. Does this mean that Lamont Peterson was doping, that he was using it to his advantage? I'm not the doctor, I'm not the athletic commission, so for that I can't say. What it does say, though, is that Lamont Peterson was using a non-natural form of testosterone, and thus Amir Khan, of all people, certainly is going to say that he had a competitive advantage. Nevertheless, now we don't have a fight. The IBF and the WBA are going to be evaluating now the legitimacy of Peterson winning those belts in the first place, and like you said, Amir Khan, all of a sudden, with all of his bitching and complaining, might finally look up and come out the stud in this whole thing.
So Amir Khan comes out, like you said, looking like the stud in this whole thing. Because now you question that first victory by Lamont Peterson. I don't question it. Lamont Peterson probably beat him that night. Should have beaten him regardless of steroids. But do you think, David, that with this positive test, that maybe, just maybe, Floyd Mayweather has a point when he calls for Olympic drug testing?
My lord.
And more food is coming this way. This is the vaca frita.
Go ahead.
Just
last week, the picture that came up on the screen was actually the pasta we were having. This is the Sicilian vaca frita.
This is the vaca frita
that we talked about last time. If heaven had a look,
Alex,
this is what heaven would look like.
Seriously, if right now I committed a serious crime and I was on death row and this was my... If I had to pick a last meal, this would be it. This is amazing, Mark, as always. RANDAZZO'S Little Italy here in Coral Gables, Florida. Amazing.
I bet you guys wish you hosted this show.
Yeah.
To your point about.
So what do you think? What do you think gives more strength to a fighter? Synthetic testosterone or Sicilian vaca frita?
Yeah, sure. For me, vaca frita. To your point, does Floyd Mayweather have a point? Absolutely. If Lamont Peterson indeed was quote-unquote doping using synthetic testosterone, and the only way this was going to show up was through a supplemental blood test, then it can be argued,
it makes all the sense in
under
the
the Nevada State Athletic Commission and any other commission, that this has been going on for a long time. And you have to believe that professional athletes whose business is their body, that they're going to search for any competitive advantage that they can find. And if there's one, kid can't eat. Give him a bib. if there's a competitive advantage that they can secure without having any testing procedures show up through urine, why would they not? I'm not saying that, of course I want the sport to be clean, but if I'm a professional athlete and I know there's something I can take that's not going to show up in a test, why wouldn't I?
And that's my thing with baseball all these years. Everybody complains about the steroid era, but if you were a baseball player that's good or borderline good, why not take something that gives you that extra advantage? And at the end of the day, I don't think steroids makes you a great baseball player. It makes you better. And boxing may do the same. Mark Randazzo, who's the chef here, and he's a former boxer himself, we were talking about this earlier today, that he doesn't see the advantage of using steroids if you're a fighter, because you increase muscle mass. You're probably gonna fight at a division that you're not comfortable with, and if your chin isn't that good night. You're gonna be fighting more powerful guys, unless you're Manny Pacquiao. And the Filipinos
really continue to
really
hate you.
Me.
I have to disagree with that notion, because whether or not you're adding more mass and it slows you down, if you do land one of those punches, and throughout the course of the fight, a fighter does land a few punches, steroids is not a baseball. And when you're baseball, steroids, one thing. Should the sport be clean? Yes. But in boxing, the ball that you hit is your opponent's face. And I don't think that there's any place. Floyd Mayweather absolutely has an argument. Was his original intention pure and honest? No. He thinks that Manny Pacquiao was taking drugs, and he's finding an excuse to say he's doing it out of the noble sake of his heart to clean up the sport. But he has stumbled on something that is an issue in not just sports, but especially professional boxing, any combat sport. You've seen this with mixed martial arts. Alistair Overeem, put it in perspective, Lamont Peterson's testosterone ratio was 3.7 to 1. There was some reports that what Alistair Overeem came in was like 16 to 1.
Yeah.
So he's
ridiculous.
He's essentially a horse with two legs standing upright. This is a major issue, and if I have to disagree wholeheartedly that if you get hit with a guy who's taking steroids, I'm not interested in it. I'm not interested in getting hit by anybody who's a clean fighter. So it's got to be cleaned up, and Floyd Mayweather certainly has picked the right battle, and this is a perfect example of it.
I'm not interested in getting hit, period.
Oh yeah.
Moving on from the Amir Khan fight, David.
More interested in eating vaca frita.
Your boy Miguel Cotto said today he wants a Pacquiao rematch or Mayweather rematch. Why not mention a fight with Canelo? It's a winnable fight for him. It's a fight I think he wins. Maybe not easy. It'll be a tough match. But why go after the Pacquiao, the Mayweather, aside for the fact that it's a big money fight?
Well, you can't eliminate that it's a big money fight. In fact, I think that's the only reason that he wants those fights.
But even Canelo would be a big money fight.
It certainly would, but I tend to think that behind the scenes, what's happening is that Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy Promotions have already told Miguel Cotto, we saw how Canelo looked against Shane Mosley. We have no interest in putting him in with you because you will destroy our future cash cow. We talked about this before. If Miguel Cotto or Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, granted Pacquiao and Mayweather are the big money fighters, but I include Miguel Cotto in that class at this point anyway. They're all going to be in the running to fight the same guys. So the other name that's going to be mentioned is any one of each other or Sergio Martinez. At this point, if any of those guys are fighting anyone outside of that realm, I think they should just retire at this point. I understand why Miguel Cotto wants another shot at Mayweather. A lot of people continue to say, you know what, this fight was closer than we expected. They're rewatching the fight and saying it's still as close as we thought it was. Richard Schaefer said today that he's getting inundated with emails that say, we want Cotto Mayweather too. You and I both saw that fight. Mayweather clearly won that fight. But because of the fact that Mayweather was bleeding, looked like he was being challenged, that's unique. And for that reason alone, I think Miguel Cotto stands a chance to maybe fight Floyd Mayweather a second time.
Yeah,
he did 1.5 million pay-per-view buys, the second biggest event ever in a non-heavyweight bout.
I don't want to see it again. I really do want to see Cotto and Canelo. And if you're Canelo, in your first pay-per-view fight, why would you want to fight James Kirkland aside from the fact that you'll probably win the fight? I mean, James Kirkland is coming off a shoulder surgery. Why would anybody go out and buy that fight if you just want to invest in a good pay-per-view scrap?
I don't think that's what Canelo's interested in either. I mean, James Kirkland is a name. He's feared because he's a puncher, but people know that there are holes in his game. You saw that against Carlos Molina. It's a fight he was losing. But he got the win. People know that Kirkland is a feared puncher. If Canelo can find a way to beat him, which I think he could, You've got, somebody on the undercard, maybe another good 154-pound fight with Erislandy Lara, maybe a rematch against Carlos Molina, something we've heard. That's a solid pay-per-view card, and if Canelo can continue to cash in checks without having to really step up too hard, the name James Kirkland means he's fighting a legit contender in his division, so people are not going to really give him a hard time for that.
But David, something that people have been mentioning, which is complete bullshit.
Oh, that's a bad word.
Is Canelo too young to be fighting these guys? And Canelo's already 21, 22 years old. Wilfred Benitez was a champ at 17. So what's the problem here? Even Mayweather was a champ at 19, 20 years old.
The problem is those were different fighters. Canelo Alvarez is not at that level yet.
You think his handlers realize that he's limited?
I think at this point, and we talked about this last week, a few years ago, the talk was that Canelo Alvarez was the next superstar in Mexico. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. was kind of a sideshow, and I think that's switched. I think we both agree. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. has advanced much better, much more quickly than Canelo Alvarez has, and all of a sudden Canelo seems to me like he's plateaued. Yes, he's definitely improved, but he does not display to me anything that would suggest to me that he's within the top 5 of his own weight class. I think Carlos Molina would beat him. I think James Kirkland might.
Lara.
I think Erislandy Lara would beat him. I think that maybe K9 Bundridge would beat him. I think a lot of guys at 154 pounds, maybe even Paul Williams, if he was still given a shot, would beat Canelo.
I don't know about K9, but I mean he has fought better as of late. I don't know if he's in that division, in that league yet. But one of the guys that you didn't mention was Vanes Martirosyan.
I hate that guy.
I look at his resume, and yeah, he's not a bad fighter. I actually like the way the kid fights, but he hasn't fought world beaters anyway. It's like he's saying that Canelo hasn't fought anybody. I mean, that's like...
Neither is he.
Neither is he. I mean, why is he complaining? What's his gripe?
He says that he was the mandatory challenger before Lara won his fight, and that he should have gotten that title shot with or without having to fight Lara. But the argument is, no one knows who Vanes Martirosyan is. So for whatever it is that you feel that you're entitled to, you need to fight. Regardless if you were the legit contender or whatever, he needs to fight Erislandy Lara if he wants to prove he's legitimate and get a shot at the title.
And Lara, every time I've talked to him, he knows that he's not going to fight Canelo Alvarez because of the politics between, Golden Boy. They both have him. So he might move up and wait. But I definitely want to see Erislandy Lara at some point this year fight somebody of name, and Vanes Martirosyan isn't allowing that.
It's either that. Love to see him fight Carlos Molina again, another name at 154 if he can. But it looks like Sergio Martinez is a name that he's calling out. If the things, if Martinez doesn't end up fighting Cotto, Pacquiao, Mayweather, or Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., I would love to see Lara versus Martinez at 160. I think that's a great fight. Those guys have similar builds. They're both southpaws. That's an exciting fight to me.
Well, David, that's it for boxing during dinner, because I really want to dig into this plate. And talking with food in my mouth, my parents told me that that's not polite.
Oh.
So I definitely don't want to do that. But
I want to give a thanks to Armando for letting me talk so much tonight.
And I want to thank everybody that showed up to the Boxing During Dinner 1-year anniversary
that was
party.
Really fun.
And these upcoming weeks, David, we're going to have a tour of RANDAZZO'S, Little Italy. So you can see, the chef back there in his domain. We're also going to have an interview with Michael Oliveira, who fights Acelino Freitas in June, and a lot more stuff. But you know what? For now, and I guess for the near future, David is going to be here in Miami.
Right.
So
we turn 50 next week.
We do turn 50.
We don't look 50.
We look pretty damn good. I'll be watching a Yankee game, but I'll be thinking of you guys.
This is... Oh my God. Mark, I want to let you know that I take pride in my appearance and my physical fitness, and you are going to destroy everything. And I can't think of a better way to do it.
Well, you gotta make Monday your cheat day.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Oh my gosh.
That's really good. If you want more, let me know.
Thank you.
I'd like to point out that sometimes people will Photoshop their food and everything. We don't have that luxury. This literally is the food as it's being brought to us, and it looks that freaking good. Oh wow.
Amazing.
Sorry about my elbow. No. I'm fucking elbowing the
Small price to pay for this.
Thank you.
And here we go.
round 15.
Yeah. I really feel like I don't even know if I can last that long with this food. The pasta carbonara was incredible. Leave us alone.